Today's webinar is personal and business finances. So just so everyone knows, today's webinar will be recorded and sent out to you after. If you want to rewatch it or maybe send it to somebody who might find a little value in today's presentation. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Amy and Sabrina from Summit Credit Union, who will be presenting today. So I'll let you guys take it from here.
Awesome. Thank you, Kelsey. All right. So why don't you pop on my first slide? Perfect. All right, let's go to the second slide. All right, thank you so much. So Kelsey, thanks for having us today. My name is Amy Crow, and I'm the Financial Education Specialist here at Summit Credit Union. I've been in their marketing department and our financial education empowerment department for about 20 years, and I lead our award-winning financial education programs, Project Money, Project Teen Money, and I have also worked on our program called Red Shoes, and I'm really excited to be here with you today, but I'm also very excited to introduce Sabrina Perkins, who is also at Summit Credit Union. Hi, Sabrina.
Hi, Amy. I'm so excited to be with all of you today. Little bit about me. I've worked at Summit for the past 20 years, and my main focus for this past 6 years has been on helping small businesses achieve their goals.
Awesome. Thank you, Sabrina. So Sabrina is going to be on our chat today. So if you have questions along the way, please feel free to put it in the chat, and we'll be answering some of those questions along the way, but also at the end. A little bit about Summit Credit Union. Kelsey, if you want to advance the slide. We are a not-for-profit financial cooperative located in Madison and Milwaukee areas, and we believe that financial success happens together. And our number one priority is to provide financial education and the tips, tools, and advice, as well as the products and services from the financial industry to make people's lives success and to help them their small businesses thrive and grow. So we're going to be sharing with you today a lot of tips, tools, and advice. And Kelsey, if you want to advance the slide, I will tell them all the things they're going to learn today. So we're going to go through how to organize and track your money. We are going to go through how to separate those personal and business finances and when to do that depending on where you are. And this session today is definitely going to be for that kind of the hobbyist and that beginning entrepreneur. You're really looking to kind of figure out what are your next steps. So that includes bootstrapping and being able to find the money to grow your business or to even create that startup. So we're going to talk about that, and Sabrina's a fantastic resource to help with that. We're also going to talk about which business accounts you might need to open and a little bit on applying for loans. But there is another webinar on Thursday that you can find at the Center for Entrepreneurship website that will specifically talk about business loans. So if you are looking for business loans, that session on Thursday is going to be the one for you as well. And then we're going to talk about specific resources. Next slide. So let's jump right in about organizing and tracking your finances. I think the best thing that you can do is really understand that when you have a small business or you would like to start up a small business, organizing and tracking not only your personal finances, but then learning how to translate that to the business sector and even stepping that up is going to be so critical for your success. Because we know when you are an entrepreneur and you're just starting out, it's really about finding the money in your own personal budget to be able to start that business. So Kelsey, if you want to advance the slide, I'll specifically share with them a couple of different steps that at Summit we have found to be very helpful. So step number one is to have multiple savings accounts. And at Summit Credit Union, you have the ability to do this. You can open up multiple savings accounts under your main account number. You can, for your personal finances, it could be emergency, vacation, home repairs, but also you can create one specifically for starting your business and starting to put money into that every time you get paid. Another tip for organizing and tracking your money is to set goals with a budget. Work towards goals with timelines and make them SMART goals. That means have a timeline, have a dollar amount associated with it, determine if it's realistic in the time frame that you have, and then also make sure that it fits with all of the other things you have in your personal finances. So that does include creating a budget. We do have a budget worksheet at summitcreditunion.com. You can find that under Money Smarts, and then you can find that under blogs and tools. We do have several worksheets, including a daily expense worksheet that can help you track your daily spending to be able to find the money in your budget to be able to bootstrap that business. There's a couple of tech tools that we wanted to share with you, utilizing online banking and a mobile app and using that daily or weekly, not just once a month when you are writing out your bills, if that's how you organize your personal finances. And then also automating that using some sort of bill payer through whatever financial institution that you have to be able to free up that time to automatically pay those bills so that you can start focusing on building your business. We also have a tool at Summit, and many financial institutions have tools like this, but it's the personal financial management tool, and it's for Summit, it's called Climber. But Mint.com, if anyone has heard of Mint.com, but what this really does is it's like an electronic Excel document, or it's an electronic tracking system, or sometimes even it's an electronic envelope system where you can start using an electronic tech tool to be able to track where your money's going, how much you're spending in specific categories, and sometimes even tracking your financial goals as well. So look to see if there's a financial management tool that you can use to be able to enhance your personal finances and get them on track. If you want to advance the slide, that would be fantastic. And this was just, I kind of jumped ahead a little bit in my explanations of online banking and the personal financial management tool. So we're just going to advance to the next slide. Okay, so self-funding your business. What we have worked with thousands of business members through the years, not only on our personal banking side, but also in our business banking side. We have financial coaches at Summit that can really look at your whole picture, your personal finances, and help you figure out where to find the money to start that business. And so we've determined that there's 4 questions that it's really important to ask yourself when you're looking to self-fund that business. Next slide, and I'll share with you the very first one. The first one is, am I saving for the things that I need personally, or do I put the things that I want and need on my credit cards? This is a really big clue that if you're putting things on your credit cards that you need every single month, that taking a step back, looking at your personal finances, figuring out why you might be overspending and putting things on your credit cards and then not paying them off that month is going to be critical for you. Because we want to make sure that we are living below our means to be able to find the money to be able to bootstrap that business. So that's one of the big clues that we often see with people. The second one, go ahead and advance the slide, is how much money am I willing to put into my business right now? This is really important because if you can take $100, $400, $500 a month, move that out of your budget so that you're not spending that money anymore and put that towards your business, that's the type of things that you'll be wanting to identify as you move forward to figuring out how you're going to self-fund this business in the future. How much money are you willing to put into it? And can you make that commitment moving forward? Go ahead and advance the next slide. And I will tell you number 3. Am I willing to change my personal spending habits to self-fund my business? This is a huge one because we know from working with thousands of members every day that personal financial habit change in your personal finances can be a journey, and it can take a couple of months to be able to change your habits. Maybe you're changing how you're grocery shopping, maybe you're changing what you're spending in terms of your wants versus your needs. But it really you need to make that change because what you're doing is you're reallocating money in your personal finances to be able to reallocate that money to a future business. So that's an important question to ask. And the final question, let's see what it is. Have you had a discussion with your significant other or anyone else regarding how you are going to reallocate money in your personal budget to your business? How is that going to affect your kids and what they're going to be wanting to spend money on? How does that affect any partners or any other family members that you have living in your house? How is that budget and how you're currently spending your money going to be changing? because it's important to reset expectations and have those conversations, because this is a really exciting endeavor that you are looking to do. This is life changing, and really, it's moving things around in your budget and reallocating the money for the things that you find important right now at this time. Okay, next slide. So let's specifically talk a little bit more about bootstrapping that business. It really means, where can you find the money in your personal budget to start buying things for your business, whether it's supplies, equipment, all of those types of things. So let's figure out what that list might include depending on what your business is. Go ahead and advance the slide. Create a list of costs. This is getting out paper, this is getting out pen, this is writing it down on your computer, whatever it might be. But it's, do you need money to be able to create a business entity? How much is that? Write that down. What materials or supplies might you need? Do you need to hire a graphic designer for a logo? Are you going to create a website yourself? What are those website hosting fees? What is the domain fee for the website that you're creating? Those can add up to several $100s. And so if you're really looking to take something that you have a skill or a talent in and kind of putting it out there in a brand presence, what is that going to cost you? Are you going to have business cards? Do you have any payment processing fees? And then are you going to take any online or in-person, and I know in-person it doesn't really happen much anymore, business courses as continuing education to grow your knowledge to be able to have a successful business and endeavor. And then I want you to create a timeline. When are all of these things going to happen? So if you're paying for perhaps, establishing an LLC and buying your domain, and that's going to cost you a couple of $100s, where is that money going to come from in your personal budget? Those are the types of questions that we really want you to ask. Go ahead, next slide. And then we need you to have a game plan to be able to self-fund your business. Here are some tips for you to be able to do that. If you have personal savings, if you get a tax refund, if you have a financial windfall, and I know that we are in the middle of a global pandemic and those things seem pretty far off in the future, but it is all about what do you have and where is the money coming from to be able to fund your business. Is it future paychecks where you can take a couple of $100s out of each paycheck every time you get paid? Are you going to be funding on your credit cards or using a personal loan to do that? Obviously, that will take meeting with a financial services, a personal banker, or wherever you do your banking, what those folks are called, whether it is, a universal banker, a personal banker, all of those types of things. Are you potentially going to use a home equity loan to fund your business? Or would you get a loan from family and friends? Notice I have retirement account crossed off the list. This is kind of one of those last resort type of things. We do want to set yourself up for retirement, and there are other ways to self-fund and start a business than getting a 401k or retirement loan. They can have a lot of implications and costs and fees associated with them. And there might be times when once you set that game plan to starting your business, there may be other ways to fund that in the future versus tapping into something that you will need to have for when after you retire. Okay, next slide. Okay, best funding choices. Let's talk a little bit about that. The big thing that we talk about at Summit Credit Union is get advice wherever you do your banking. Talk to someone, get advice, take your questions to them. Summit loves answering questions, whether it's about personal finances, whether or not funding that business is going to be best to maybe refinance a car loan to get cash out. Maybe it's refinancing a mortgage to be able to save a monthly payment when you get a lower interest rate. Do you use your credit card versus a home equity line of credit? What are those interest rates? How much would you be charged? Getting advice is going to be really critical for you because we want to make sure to set you up for success. Reviewing your credit report and score is important. Call your financial institution. Maybe they are doing online over the phone appointments like Summit is right now. Maybe they have also specific in-person appointments where they've limited the number of people in their branches. But really it's being able to get your credit report, which could be from annualcreditreport.com, or maybe it's sitting down with a financial expert and talking with them about your funding choices, and maybe that turns into a loan application, which then you can see your credit report and your credit score. Those are going to be important for you because as we progress through this session and as we talk about potentially getting a business loan in the future, your personal credit will absolutely weigh into that. And then we want you to create a plan to save money, not only to protect yourself personally so that you have an emergency fund, but also save money to be self-funding that business on a consistent basis. Next slide. Okay, how do you separate kind of that personal finances versus the business finances? Let's talk about that. Go ahead and advance the slide. I like putting up this example. It's kind of an example of how do you turn from the hobbyist to, oh my gosh, now I actually have this business. And I kind of use this for cupcakes or other things that you might be making in your home. You know, you make some things for your friends, maybe they're paying you. You start selling it, and then all of a sudden friends of friends are buying it, and you create a flyer, and then you start naming what you're doing. You create a business name. When you start performing like that business, that's when you need to start thinking about some liabilities that you might be responsible for. And it really becomes an exciting time because that's when you can get some resources, which we'll share with you a bunch of different resources in the end. But that's kind of why getting advice and kind of figuring out where you are right now is going to be helping you. So let's talk business entities. Go ahead and advance the slide. One is you could open up a business account as a sole proprietor. When you do that, typically you would need a photo ID, your address, your social security number, and that business name. So here's an example. Maybe you have a cleaning business, or you've been making those cupcakes for friends, or you make a woodworking, you know, beautiful different woodworking things, cutting boards, different things like that. And you decide on a business name, and someone actually writes you a check in that business name versus to your personal name. And that's really the difference where you're going to need to set up some business accounts and start acting like a true business. And those business accounts are really easy to open at Summit Credit Union or your current financial institution. Like I said, you just need a couple of different pieces of information to be able to do that as a sole proprietor. Now let's talk about when you actually need an LLC. Go ahead and advance the slide. An LLC is going to be one of those accounts that really provides a little bit of protection for your personal finances and assets through this business structure. An LLC can be established with a social security number if it's a single member entity. Where you're going to be reporting your business income on your personal tax returns. And so you need that photo ID, that address, that social security number. You might need an EIN number, that business name, and then the LLC paperwork that you're going to be getting from the state of Wisconsin. Now, this is not a session about how to actually create that LLC through the state, but we're going to be sharing with you some resources at the end of this session that will be able to give you that information. So Sabrina, I did want to ask you, you know, I know that you have some experience in this area. How does an LLC kind of protect those personal assets versus that sole proprietorship? Can you dig a little deeper into that?
Absolutely. So that LLC is going to keep everything separate from you personally with a protection, knowing that you're going to be doing business as that LLC and not your individual self. And then it also adds the benefit of creating EIN numbers, which then if you're doing contract work, you have the protection of not handing out your social security number. A lot of the times we see it in the trades areas or even the service industry that they're asking for a W-4 to be completed. In turn, by having an LLC with an EIN number, you're able to protect your social security number from fraud, making it out from one individual to another, or maybe they're handing it over to their accountant. So it really helps tie up everything doing for you personally.
You could be a maker where you're like making those cutting boards on the side, or you could be, doing some accountant services or graphic design work on the side, that type of thing, right, Sabrina? Even if it's a small thing like that, you want to protect yourself.
Absolutely, you do.
Okay, good. And we know that we have a couple of questions, so we'll be trying to answer them through the chat and then also along the way. Kelsey, next slide, please. So what business accounts do you need and when do you need them? It depends on a lot of different things, which is why we ask that you do your research, that you connect with your financial institution, or if Summit's not your financial institution, give us a call and start asking these questions. But we do recommend a savings account, and we do potentially, depending on what you're doing, recommend a checking account with a debit card. And then there's also overdraft protection. So let me talk a little bit about those things. You're going to want a savings account in your business name. And that's to be able to put money in, to be able to take money out, different things like that. At Summit, you can add sub shares to that savings account. So you can actually portion that out for business taxes. You can portion that out for growth and development or marketing or whatever you might need it to be. If you find that you need to be using a checking account with a debit card, we do have that option as well, and many financial institutions do. I would make sure that you understand the fee structure associated with any checking accounts. When it comes to businesses, you might not have the cash flow, you might not have the income where you need a checking account with a debit card, depending on how many monthly fees that they are and how big you are at this point. Overdraft protection can be attached to that checking account just in case you need a little bit extra cash to buy a little bit more supplies than you might need, and just to protect yourself. So we also say that, if you, let's see, how do I say this? We check personal credit when you are a sole proprietor and when you're applying for any loans as an LLC. So typically this overdraft protection is going to be potentially like in the $500 to $1,500 range, but you could request more if needed. And it's another kind of way not to actually get a business loan, but to be able to provide yourself a little bit of access to some funds. Now those larger businesses that are looking for more than $2,500 really require that verification of income and those 2 years of tax returns and things like that. So Sabrina, do you have anything to share or tips or tools about, the savings, the checking account, the overdraft protection, or even just being aware of those monthly fees that might be associated with business accounts?
Absolutely, Amy. One of, and you touched on separating accounts for saving for taxes, in addition to savings for taxes, possible inventory purchases. We have a lot of successful businesses that really budget that way to know where they've saved, or if their sales are down, they know they have the resources with an extra savings account to plan for those unexpecteds. And then working with your financial institution and knowing what fees are associated with the accounts when you're opening them.
You should be able to find some sort of fee charge list on a website, right? On a financial institution's website.
Absolutely. Every financial institution should have that posted.
Perfect. And there might be even ways where you could get around fees depending on if you have a minimum balance in a savings account or different things like that. So
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, next slide. Okay, other business accounts that you might need. And this is something I'm going to throw back to Sabrina in just a second, but if you do need a business credit card or maybe even a cash management suite, those are a little bit more in-depth products. Sabrina, do you want to just touch about cash management? Because that's kind of like when you maybe are a yoga instructor and you want to take money out of other people's checking accounts for the monthly fee for yoga, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So here at Summit, and not just at Summit, at other financial institutions too, we offer a more diverse array of products and services for our business members. So here at Summit, our cash management suite allows us to have our business members electronically debit fees from their customers' accounts that are pre-authorized. So we'll see yoga instructors doing this. We'll also see some smaller daycare facilities that are doing this. In addition, if you've got any monthly service subscription fees that you are having your customers pay, maybe you're an online um, uh,
Coach.
coach, or there's a lot of different businesses out there that can utilize that ACH suite. And then it gives you the ability to know when you're going to be receiving funds to help with your budget. And then once you grow a little bit bigger, we also offer what's called remote deposit capture. So your business grows, your time becomes more demanding, and you might not have time to run to the bank to deposit checks. So we'll give you a scanner that you can scan your checks on site, to alleviate that extra run to the bank.
Awesome. Good. And there's online banking for businesses as well.
Correct, there is. And with that online banking for businesses, it gives you the ability to create additional users so that you could provide your accountant with a login and then limit the amount of things they could do, whether that be transfer money, or maybe you just want them to take a look at your statements to reconcile your accounts. It has that functionality in there so that there's some protection for you.
Awesome. Thank you, Sabrina. Kelsey, do you want to send the next slide over and we'll start talking about reinvesting and paying yourself first? Because if we're getting all of this cash coming in from our checks or taking money from folks' accounts for services that you provide, how are you paying yourself? How are you actually moving money from your business account to your personal account? Because, in the beginning, we really talked about how you're moving money from your personal finances to bootstrap and start up your business. And maybe you're even paying some of those bills with that business checking account or different things like that. And then now you're making some income. How do you pay yourself? What does that look like? Go ahead and advance the slide. We have one of our members who shared a story with me about how excited she was to actually write herself a check from her business account that then she was able to put into her personal account, and she felt so empowered, right? But there's so many ways that you can move money back and forth that we're going to talk about those in just a second. But let's also talk about reinvesting in your business. This could be really stockpiling money in a savings account to pay for future supplies. It could be to save for your tax liabilities as a business. It could be even investing in a new product line over time. Say, maybe in 2021, you want to add a product to your line and you are going to use, the rest of this year, every time you get paid personally and as part of your income from product sales or services, moving that money into a separate savings account for that new product line and seeing that money grow is kind of an exciting time. Whether you're into research and testing to really pilot some things to see how they're working, or even if you're purchasing additional marketing materials or doing social media, sponsored ads, things like that, how are you reinvesting in your business in terms of your marketing plan? So go ahead and hit the next slide for me, Kelsey, and we'll talk a little bit more about how you actually pay yourself from your business. So you have some income, you want to pay yourself, you've reinvested into your, a couple of savings accounts and things for the things that you want to do in the future. But how do you pay yourself? Okay, go ahead, next slide. This is a really great example of, that circle over there is kind of you and your business. I didn't want to name it necessarily, but you can do that through your mobile app. You can do that through online banking. You can transfer between accounts in online banking. And some financial institutions will actually allow you to link them together. Otherwise, it could very much be where you're simply transferring funds between accounts using that online banking and using that mobile app. You may need to contact your financial institution to actually figure out exactly how you do that. Some financial institutions just need an account number. Some financial institutions need an account number, but they also might need a like the last 3 or 4 letters of your last name. And I kind of use air quotes because you kind of need to know how your business is set up in those financial accounts to be able to make that transfer. Do they need the full business name as it is set up in their financial account system to be able to trigger that transfer as well as an account number. And sometimes even if you have a comma set in your business, that might affect how you would do online banking and your mobile app. And so it's really important to kind of talk to your financial institution to find out the best way to move money between your business and your personal accounts, because it might not be, the best way might not be intuitive to you. So Sabrina, did you have anything that you wanted to share about kind of moving money between your personal account and your business account, maybe a best tip or something?
Yeah, so one nice thing is if you are utilizing the online banking platform, here at Summit, we allow you to place some comments or some notes on the transactions when you're transferring money. So it's really a nice feature to have. And then as you're reconciling, you might be like, why did I transfer that money 5 months ago? But having that small comment on there, it will help you recollect why you did that. So it is nice to have those small little reminders on there.
That's awesome. Yes, because who remembers what they did 5 months ago for a $75 transfer to something that maybe, you put on your personal credit card because you didn't put it on your business credit card and it was an oops, and now you have to make sure your accountant knows.
Absolutely.
All right, Kelsey, why don't you move on to the next slide? Okay, tools to effectively manage your business. We kind of talked about this just a second ago, but utilize mobile banking, not only for your personal finances, but also for your business finances. Find out if there's a personal financial management tool like that Mint.com or that Climber that you can use for businesses to be able to really start learning more about your businesses. Determine if you need that payment or invoicing system, if you're ready for that, or when that might be. Maybe you could do some preliminary research now as to what that kind of looks like and what the benefits are. And then you can also determine if that's something that you need to save for, if there's any costs associated for that when you're ready to be able to do that. And then determining what type of an accounting system that you want to use. Again, those are things that you would want to look back to the Center for Entrepreneurship at Madison College to kind of figure out, what are those types of systems. They're a fantastic resource. They have lots of different classes, so we want to be able to figure out, what kind of accounting system is best for you. And I do know that the Center for Entrepreneurship has experts in residence, entrepreneurs in residence, where you can connect with them as well. So when you start getting into, how you actually manage your business and some of the intricacies of that, tap back into those Madison College resources. We provide the tools to be able to do some of those things, but the implementation and the knowledge and the research is really something that you can get from Madison College. So, Kelsey, do you want to click on the next slide for me? Okay, business plans and getting financing. This is kind of exciting where you are figuring out, gosh, is there a truck that I need to buy for my mobile dog grooming business? Is there a brick and mortar store in my future? Is there, a kitchen that I need to somehow build out? All of these types of things, it's going to be really important for you to set yourself up for success. And I did mention Thursday's session with some of our business experts that we're hosting. And so we're going to dig a little bit more and deeper into this topic on Thursday, but just quick and brief. Kelsey, if you want to hit the next slide for me. Components of a business plan that you are going to need to be able to show a business lender, no matter where that is. They're going to be looking for your business description, your vision, and your mission. They're going to be looking at your target markets and the marketing factors that are really going to bring back success in that business to be able to pay back any loans that you take out. They're going to want to look at that marketing plan that you might have. They're going to want to look at your personal finances because a while ago I talked about how your personal credit absolutely plays into how you're going to get funding in the future from business loans. And then they're going to look for that financial plan. There are many, many resources out there, especially for the Center for Entrepreneurship at Madison College. But Sabrina, I'm going to just ask you a quick question. Um, is there any one of these things that I have on this list that's more important than the other when it comes to a business plan?
I would I would say really within your vision and your mission, it's important to include those projections because as you're applying for financing, we're going to be looking heavily on can their projections support this added debt?
Perfect. Great. Thank you so much. Kelsey, do you want to advance the slide? So sorry, everyone. I've been talking a little bit too long today. Sabrina, would you take the slide about getting finance for me for just a second?
I would be happy to. So in regards to getting financing, this is in this comes into play a lot as well with what I was talking about with the business plan. So with those projections. So what we're looking for is how much can you self-fund or have you self-funded? Um, can the business or you personally support the repayment of the loan with the cash flow that's coming in from the business as well? And then really what is the purpose of the loan? Is it to help grow the business by purchasing inventory or additional supplies or materials for the construction or the if you've got a small woodworking business to construct those pieces of items that you're going to be selling then. In addition to that, we do, like Amy had mentioned, we do look at your personal credit and making sure that there aren't any items that could negatively affect the repayment of this existing loan or this new loan with us.
Perfect. Thank you, Sabrina. I really
Not a
appreciate
problem.
that. You'd think that allergies would be done for the season, but obviously they are not. So, excuse me so much. Yeah, that getting financing is such a critical piece. And Sabrina, you brought up so many really good points about that. And that's why getting advice from a trusted financial advisor and figuring out what that process kind of looks like before you even sit down with a business lender. That's why the Center for Entrepreneurship is so great at helping you determine and pulling some of these things together before you go to that business lender to be able to sit down with them to get that financing. And what we've learned too is that you may sit down with a business lender and they may want some more things from you. They may have you tweak some things, your business plan, your projections, different things like that. Maybe even clean up some of your personal credit before they're able to fund that loan. So it's not necessarily a no never, it's a no not now, but here's the steps that you need to take to get you to where you want to go. Kelsey, would you advance the slide? These are a bunch of different resources for you to look into. And I know that this is being recorded and it will be sent back out to you, but you can get your free credit report at annualcreditreport.com. There are other resources with some excuse me, with the Small Business Administration. There's some web links there. The most important one for you today is obviously the Madison College Center for Entrepreneurship as being hosts and sponsor of this session today. Thank you so much. But there are some other things that you can do and really look at to, there's free business plans, different things like that. Go ahead and advance the slide. Okay, what have you learned today? We talked a little bit about how you can organize and track your money personally to be able to find the money to self-fund and bootstrap that business. We talked about how to separate those personal and business finances and then how to move money back and forth between the two. And that's really important because we see many businesses who we work with who have commingled finances, and it can get really hard during tax season to break those two things apart. So we want to make it really clear and easy for you and reduce that stress that you might have when you have clear, organized finances and a clear process of this is what I'm using for this, it gets moved to this account. It's going to be moved for this, for my business, and then the flow back. Being able to understand that is going to reduce some of your stress. Finding the money, whether you're using home equity loans, your personal savings, money from every paycheck, potentially a credit card, however you're funding that business, is that the best choice for you? Are there other options? Maybe you can get some cash out by refinancing some debt that has some collateral to it. All of these things might be options. So contact obviously, Summit Credit Union can help you with that, but also your current financial institution to see if they even offer business services. And then applying and opening up for those accounts, depending if you're that sole proprietor or if you've opened an LLC, whether you're using that social security number or that EIN number, and then just a little bit about applying for business loans. So we're going to open it up for questions and answers at this time. So Kelsey, if you want to just pop over to the Q&A slide. Sabrina, do we have any questions from the chat, either privately or publicly, that we could answer in the time that we have left?
Absolutely. So there was a question about if you already had an LLC established, but you didn't have an EIN number, can you go back in and add an EIN number? And to answer that, yes, you would need to just go to the IRS .gov and then apply for an EIN number. I have received some personal items offline, but it does look like Kelsey has responded to a few of them about some of the resources at Madison College. And then there is a question from Elliot: if you have an EIN number, do you need to get a new one? The answer is, if that EIN number is associated with the business that you are operating under, then you would not need to get a new one. But if you are creating an additional LLC, you would need to apply for an additional EIN number with irs.gov. And then it looks like there's some links to some different classes that Kelsey is posting. Then I do have Kim asking if there is a way to obtain funding without a personal guarantee. Here at the credit union, all of our loans are personally guaranteed by both the business as well as any principals of the business that have more than a 20% interest in that entity. That's a really good question.
Good. Now, somebody asked if there's any more education that they can get about personal finances. So Kelsey, would you advance the slide? Because we do have several education sessions, both live and recorded, that Summit Credit Union offers. Even if you're not a member and have never done business with us, please take advantage of these resources. There's a couple coming up this month on retirement. But then we have a couples and money one on October 8th, which might be good if you're looking to start a business or need to bootstrap and change your budget. You're going to need that partner and your family on board to be able to reallocate some money to different areas. We do have a home buyers after 5 and then also a teach your kids about money session. But at summitcreditunion.com/moneysmarts, there are recorded webinars on reducing financial stress, taking control of your finances, even a tutorial about that personal financial management tool called Climber that I talked about. And we have a podcast. I love talking with people about their personal finances, getting the story behind it. And so that is located under our summitcreditunion.com, Money Smarts blogs and tools, and then I believe it's podcasts. Under blogs and tools, we have Excel documents you can download and track your expenses and put it into categories and then create a budget for yourself, kind of the now budget and the future budget. So we have tons of resources that you can use, kind of that self-directed, but then we also have free consultations with our financial coaches in our branches. And you can actually set an appointment online. If you go to summitcreditunion.com and hit meet, you can pick the topic of what you want to talk about. You can pick the day and it will show you on a calendar well, you can pick the location too. And then you can pick the time, and it can be a phone conversation, because we know with limiting people in different places, Summit has limited the number of people we have in a branch at a specific period of time, but we have lots of different sanitation things in place to make that a safe experience and a comfortable experience for you. So you could do in branch, or you could talk to somebody over the phone, whether it's on our personal finance side or our business side. So that's just really exciting to be able to share with you. Kelsey, if you want to move to the last slide, I believe that it has my email and Sabrina's email on it, so that if anyone has any questions after the fact or wants to be connected with somebody, we would love to do that for you. Let's just look. I know the chat's kind of blowing up a little bit. I wanted to see if there's anything else that we can address. And if your
So
question doesn't get answered, feel free to email us, and then we'll be able to address that question as well.
absolutely. So it looks like Josie has a question about how to open up an account with personal and business to transfer between the two accounts. So here at the credit union, you would have two separate memberships, one for you personally and then one for your business. And then you are able to link it up within your online banking to transfer the money between the two accounts. And then within there, that comment area is, or the memo area, where you can go ahead and comment what you're transferring and the reasonings behind that. Um, and then it looks like Josie also said that they were thinking about getting a cargo van for the business, but we're going to fund it with personal and business savings. Can we lend money from our personal account to the business account, and how do we go about doing that? You absolutely can do that. Once again, just transferring that money from your personal account with a comment over to the business account, and then making that purchase, and then you could kind of create a contract between you and the business that the business needs to pay you back until that debt is repaid. So Amy, do you have anything else to add to kind of that?
I love how you're making a contract with yourself
You have
and your
to.
business.
You have to.
Because you have to hold yourself accountable, right?
Exactly, exactly. And then
Yes.
then you can stay on track, and it's easy to budget that way if you do have a contract between yourself. And then it
I
looks
like
like
that.
Jeremy is also asking, can you have multiple sole proprietorships under an LLC with an EIN number? So a sole proprietorship is more of you personally doing business as, let's say, ABC Crafts. And the thing is, with the sole proprietorship, those run under your personal social security number. Now, with an LLC, when that is established, it's more of a business. And as far as the EIN number, that one EIN number is can only be assigned to one business. So if you had ABC Crafts in, I don't know, the other craft store, I can't think of names right now. If you're operating those as two separate entities, they will need two separate LLCs, or excuse me, EIN numbers. I hope I answered that question. If not, go ahead and add into that. And then yes, even with an LLC, you can have a DBA attached to it. It's a lot of our franchises do that. So you've got a McDonald's that of course is a McDonald's, but they're operating as Paul and Sue's McDonald's on Main, as their DBA name. So yes, you can certainly add DBA names to that.
Thank you, Sabrina.
You're very welcome. Um, so the LLC can be an umbrella for several EIN numbers. It can be an umbrella, but underneath each LLC would have to have their own EIN numbers underneath that. So you could have an entity that, let's say, holds real estate, and that real estate is ABC Real Estate. And then underneath ABC Real Estate is also, let's say, 123 Main Street LLC. And then over here, it also owns 345 Main Street. So people will umbrella umbrella it with properties. But if there's other individuals that are also part of maybe this LLC, but not this LLC, you could still umbrella it with operating agreements.
And that's one of those things where you want to get advice from
Absolutely.
great resources that because this is recorded, it will be shared out. But it really is one of those things where we're just scratching the surface here. And I know I love the questions because it's like, oh, you're just getting a little taste of what to know, right? But it's really then giving you the opportunity to know what questions to ask those experts, whether it's from the business side or the personal side, or you're asking the Center for Entrepreneurship. Finding those trusted financial resources and business resources are going to be the key for your financial success. So notice on our slide that Summit Credit Union's on Facebook and Instagram, and we tweet. Feel free to like us on all of those platforms. We often send inspirational messages or information about other classes that we're hosting. But I really hope that you take full advantage of what you have available at Madison College's Center for Entrepreneurship, and connect with us if you have questions. We can get you to other experts at Summit. And Kelsey, I'm going to turn it over to you, because if there's any other questions, please feel free to email us. But I know that we're running reasonably close to time, and so thank you, Sabrina, for being my co-host today. I certainly appreciate all of your technical expertise on the business
Thank you.
side. And Kelsey, thanks so much for hosting us today.
Yes, thank you, Amy and Sabrina, for sharing so much awesome information today. I think we can all agree that there's a handful of information and tips that we are able to take from today. So lastly, I would just like to thank Summit Credit Union for their continued partnership and support that they have to offer to everyone at Madison College.